to say we're live?
It says we're live.
All right. We're live. I am the industry. I'm Billy the Kid, Billy Smalls.
I'm Hope Carter. Just Hope.
What's up? We're here today to talk about sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Pretty much, so many artists seem to be fall or succumb to like intoxication. We're here to try to hash that out.
Liven up. You sound like we're having an intervention for an artist.
I mean,
wake up. Stop picking the chips from between your teeth with your tongue.
Yo, you sounded just like Marvin Gaye. Wake up, everybody. Let's start. That's not Marvin Gaye. Who is that?
Well, speaking of Marvin Gaye, we're talking about untimely deaths within music, especially due to drugs and just randomness. Well, sex and drugs, and just the nature of rock and roll, like what kind of industry it is. Like we talked about last week, how crazy hip hop is with, it's all fun and games till somebody ain't playing no more. We have a Biggie situation, Tupac situation on our hands. So I'll start it off.
Oh, no doubt. You can have the floor, queen. Beautiful African queen,
I guess. So
yes.
One of the most interesting things to me on this topic is the 27 Club. Have you heard of the 27 Club?
Oh, no doubt. I'm very familiar with that.
Yeah. And so it's some of the dopest artists have died at 27 due to drugs or, well, with one of them, Bryan Adams with the Rolling Stones, it was a drowning, like he drowned, but they still said his liver and his heart were swollen because of drug abuse. And so you got in the 27 Club, it's Janis Joplin, Kurt Cobain, Bryan Adams, Amy Winehouse, and my favorite. What's my favorite? In our group chat, I talk about having a crush on this man all the time.
You testing me?
Yeah, I'm testing you.
Oh shit!
In the group chat.
We have had a group chat in a milli.
Okay, but who's my favorite?
Oh fuck!
The person that I said I'm so glad I was born at this time because I would totally be his groupie.
Kurt Cobain.
I named Kurt Cobain already.
Oh fuck! I failed this one. I failed it. Just tell me.
You want a hint?
Because we haven't had a group chat in a while, y'all. Like, y'all don't understand. Like,
you want a hint? I call him Guitar Bay.
So many dudes play guitar. Like, I have no idea who you're talking about.
Excuse me while I kiss the sky.
Jimi Hendrix?
Yes. Come on, man.
I should have known. But this is the thing about Jimi Hendrix, though. Like, his murder is not even... I say murder because I don't know if you're familiar with John Potash. He's this guy who uncovered and got the government to pretty much spit out all of the FBI documents that had been held in secrecy of Tupac. Like the FBI has thousands, like a big ass book of conspiracy theories, and Jimi Hendrix, he believes, is one of them because he studied how the government works and how they break down certain people who speak out against certain atrocities in society. And like one of the things with Jimi Hendrix is like he had a whole thing where he was speaking out against the war, if I'm not mistaken. And viewers, please correct me, man. Y'all stay fucking quiet like y'all don't watch this shit. If I'm wrong, please like correct me. But pretty much Jimi Hendrix was like speaking out against the war. I remember like they said like the night I think John Potash said the night before he was supposed to go on to perform a concert against the war, someone had spiked his drink and he was like knocked the fuck out and he couldn't even like go on stage. Like he studied the patterns of how the government works. So I don't think Jimi Hendrix OD'd because of sex, drugs, and rock and roll. I think it was more of like a government kind of plot.
I don't think he OD'd at all. I think old girl killed him because he used to beat her all the time.
Did you see the movie?
Huh?
Did you see the movie?
Yeah.
What'd you think about that?
I thought it was great. First of all, Three Stacks did a fantastic job.
He did. Shout out Andre, man. Man.
There's
What
no
cannot
way
he
I
do?
could've
What cannot he do? Like, real talk.
What was that sentence? What can he not?
Exactly right. I'm a Three Stacks fan, man. Like, I
No,
love him.
no, he did a great job. I'm glad they chose him to portray somebody as genius and talented as Jimi Hendrix. But I do know just historically from my own research, oh girl was there when he died and had some weird conflicting stories about, oh, he, he tripped and fell, or I don't even really know. So I think she killed him. Like 100% believe she killed him. But he did used to beat her all the time. So
Oh wow.
I don't know.
What the movie didn't even cover that.
Yeah, that's a little history, little tidbit for y'all.
That's crazy because I was talking about like Straight Outta Compton, like because I paralleled like the Jimi Hendrix story in that sense because D Barnes.
Nah.
Shout out D Barnes.
Wait, no, I think that I went to high school with him.
No, D Barnes is a hip hop scribe. Like without her, she should have a hieroglyph just dedicated to what she did for fucking hip hop. Like shout out D Barnes, but she unfortunately was one of Dre's like women that he ended up hitting.
I heard about her.
Yo, she follows me. Like, big up D Barnes. I love her outside of that. Like, she does so much for hip hop, and she's so underrated.
And she spoke out and stuff, and everybody started bashing her despite.
Yeah. And bitch ass like fucking. No, I love Eminem too, but like fuck Eminem for that fucking like guilty conscience verse about D Barnes. Like, that's not a joke. Like, without her, it wouldn't be no fucking Eminem either.
Okay, but it's Eminem. Like, he's gonna.
Yeah, true. You sound like my homeboy. He said the same thing, right? But here's my point. Like, they cut out that scene. It was like, why wasn't that mentioned in Straight Outta Compton? Because that was like when NWA had pretty much, that was a big highlight in her career when the D Barnes case happened. You know what I'm saying? When Dre beat her, unfortunately. And that's funny because you were talking about Jimi Hendrix, and they cut that completely out of the film. I did not know that until you just dropped that information.
Yeah, old girl had a couple of different stories about what happened to him. So I'm pretty sure they got into it and she was like, never again. And she killed him.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that is what it is. But it's weird to me. I guess it's not weird, but I heard Chevy Chase say this one time about Saturday Night Live, like the cast on there. He's like, you can't be that creative without self-medicating. I don't think that's true. I really don't. I think some of the stuff that they come up with is like weird and out there. So maybe it's because they're self-medicating that it comes out like that. But with music, I don't think, I mean, like you got kids, like look at, what's his name? Swizz and Alicia Keys' little boy.
I don't know his name.
I don't remember his name either, but dope producer. I doubt that he's snorting cocaine, So I don't know if that's a real thing. Like you have to self-medicate for to be that creative. But I see a lot of artists fall into the trap of that just because it's so much around them. And then especially the younger ones don't have anybody to be like, don't do that, So they fall into that trap of drugs and alcohol. But to another point, I think part of it is because of what I call artist melancholy. You know what I mean by that?
No, I get what you're saying. I mean, I don't know if you took it in the Myers-Briggs exam.
Yes, I have.
Okay. So, like, there's certain personalities who are, like, creative and are extra sensitive to shit around them and whatever. I think I get what you're about to go into.
Yeah. So, with being creative, and I think I know, and you know probably too, you're always in your head, and that can be a dangerous place to be sometimes because you get to what I call tumbleweeding emotions, where it's like you get home and you live alone, so you're like, oh man, I miss human interaction, and then you're like, why don't nobody like me? And you know what I mean? Like it just goes on and on. You're like, it's probably because this, or it's probably because that, and I'm so alone, and da 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 da. And what healthy people do is they journal it or they talk to somebody or whatever. But through that, a lot of great art comes out. However, if you're an artist who's around the means to release some endorphins or happy pills or whatever, self-medicate, I can see someone doing that, falling into that trap. I myself have not personally done that because I was like, that will make me sadder, most likely, having a drug problem, you know, but I can see artists who have the wealth and the means to do it, like they know the plug, falling into that. You know what I mean?
I feel you. Are you a musician?
I love music, but I don't play anything. Well, I play like this much guitar.
That's what's up.
And I can sing if you ask me. Not gonna break y'all up right now, you know.
What was your Myers-Briggs results?
ENFP.
I fucking forgot.
I am the commander.
You're the I could see that.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're a G, like straight up command. Like you run, you take control. The reason I asked that is because we got a chime in from Mars, a moon.
Mm-hmm.
Marcus, he pretty much is tuning in. And he has a question. Like you're dropping some real good shit for the podcast, and he said, "I feel like it's training. It's a training thing. Like at some point, you learn to be the creative without self-medicating. It's honestly because some people are just lazy. Like some person's appearances are scary, unpleasant to society."
Dang, ugly. Shout out.
I am the industry staff, though. Shout out Marcus.
Representation of ugly people.
Shout out Marcus, though. Real, like he's dropping like that's. What do you have to say about that comment?
I don't really get. Wait, hold on. So he's saying people are late, like they don't want to work on their crafts to be sober and creative. Is that what he's saying? I'm guessing.
To my understanding, he said coconut oil helps a lot. What the fuck?
I think he's just being shady. Marcus. No, I'm not. I'm definitely right. That's awesome. But by the way, that's what's in my hair right now. That's what this curl pattern.
Oh, you got the little 80s jump off going. I like that shit.
You do? Thank you. I just took out my braids and was like, deep conditioner.
Yeah, you like some. I was
straight up, but it's
listening to some Anita Baker earlier. You kind of sound like that. Like, what was her song?
That yawning. That Anita Baker doing? She don't be singing, she be yawning.
Oh, you was listening to it recently. You know her catalog.
No, I just know what she sings. And it all you know it too. Sweet love.
Sweet love. Whatever.
You already know.
You's a fool, Colt. What the Yo, real talk though, like that's good. I feel what you're saying though about these artists. So like, but I feel like the reason why I asked about Myers-Briggs is because I think that taps into why they start using drugs. Like their artists are very sensitive. You know what I'm saying? Like me coming from a church musician background, like I'm sensitive as fuck. Like I play piano like my whole childhood.
Musician back. Oh, keep going.
But I'm sensitive as fuck, right?
Right.
Yeah, because I get how they feel. Like you feel everything around you. That's the only way you can produce good shit. You feel what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and let's before we even go into this, let's separate the decades we're talking about, because like nowadays the Percocets and Xannies and shit and lean or whatever is different from heroin and cocaine or whatever, alcohol. You feel me? Like the artists back then, it was more like, you know, they were just sensitive to the environments around them. If you do not factor in conspiracies, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, very true. Very true. Because I mean, they were living through in the 60s, especially because we spanned the 60s through the 90s just now with the 27 Club. I'm sorry, the 2000s with Amy Winehouse.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know if you can just be like, oh, well, the 60s were just so tumultuous, because we had what, 40, 50 years that we're talking about here. Right. And it's art is art. And I think it's the same thing. I think it's not knowing how to process those feelings correctly or in a healthy way, or not realizing that you need to throw them all into your art.
Right. I feel what you're saying. I definitely feel what you're saying. Like, it's not just, but what do you feel about the government kind of sabotaging the hippie movement with the drugs? You know what I'm saying?
I've never heard that theory.
Really?
No.
Yes, that's like
I'm obsessed with the 60s, but I've never heard that theory.
Really?
Like I've heard about like hip hop and like the hood and the ghetto and all that, but have I heard that theory? Dang, that's crazy.
That is. Yeah, like they were saying, like, for example, like, I don't know, like, how come every podcast we're talking about Tupac? Like,
Tupac is fantastic.
He covers like all genres and people don't even realize it.
Tupac, like, I think, in a non-biased way, because yes, I am a fan, but I think Tupac is one of those like ultimate artist kind of characters. Like you'll see him, you would see him every now and then, but he would just like Tupac on the scene all the time, you know?
Yeah.
He was in his head, and every interview turned not into like, you know, you see like interview with all these poppy people, like, do you have any pets? Like, you know, if you could do a song with one artist, living or dead, who would it be? It was never like that with him. It was like turned into some stay woke kind of stuff, you know? And you see that with other artists. Like,
go ahead. I'm sorry. The Nita Baker song is like in my head. Like it's that. Go ahead. You were making a good point.
Well, I mean, you know, it turned into something deeper, and I think it was interviewers trying to get into his head, and I think, and going to another artist who died from, and actually it was drug abuse and just having the means to get to the drugs, Michael Jackson. You know, well, Michael had an actual problem, you know, a back problem or whatever it was, that was his hips or his back or something like that. But he had Dr. Kevorkian, who was just like, hey, let me just give you all the drugs you want. But the same with his interviews. It was always like, let me try to get into your head. You know what I'm saying?
I feel what you're saying.
Everything, I think, goes back to a Tupac or a Michael or a Prince, who was another, you know, another victim of drug abuse.
It sure was. That happened so suddenly too. Like I was not expecting that.
That was crazy. I remember I was at work and I had just sent a text message. Shout out to my last job, sorry. I had just sent a text message to my dad, and I got on Twitter real quick because why not? I was already on my phone. And it was like, oh, Prince died, blah, blah, blah. And once again, TMZ broke it before real news. So it was a little bit unbelievable because you're like, oh, I'm so sure TMZ. But, you know, there's a little bit of truth to a lot of stuff TMZ says, so.
There is. Like, did you quit that job, by the way?
Let's move on.
No, because real shit, shout out to Hope, man. Like, y'all want to know what it's like. People always cover, the thing is with me is, like, people always cover the industry as far as, like, fucking artists and, like, oh, I play the fucking guitar and I sing acoustic guitar. Like, fuck you. But the hardest job is, like, we're the next generation of, like, journalists. You know what I'm saying? Without us, there wouldn't be no fucking yous. You understand what I'm saying? So, like, you know, it's big up. We go through even probably more struggles because we don't get the first, you know, we don't get recognized for what we do by putting y'all bitch asses on. So shout out to Hope. I mean, she quit her job. You know, she's doing good for herself. Like, we need to one day compile like a history of stuff we go through. But anyway, that's aside from the point.
Oh, that's a great podcast subject because
hell yeah. That's what I was talking about. Like D Barnes, for example. Like with D Barnes, like people don't talk about it. They talk about the fucking Dre incident. Dre's bitch ass. I carry on Pac's legacy with that. Like whatever. He has a bunch of money to ruin my career if I ever wanted to get on as an artist. I mean, as a journalist. But I'm just speaking in terms of the past, whatever. I don't know. I wasn't there, whatever. But she did so much, her show. What was her show called? Like, she interviewed Tribe, De La Soul.
Which Tribe has another song out today with Busta, if y'all haven't heard. Just go check that out.
Shout out Tribe, man. I love y'all. Like, and D Barnes played a role in putting these people on. Like, She was a journalist. Like, I want to pick her brain. Like, how did you make it as a journalist? She was more entertaining than the artists that were actually she was interviewing. And I just a pause from the podcast. Like, you know, shout out to Hope if she, your story to greatness. You know what I'm saying? You quit your job and whatever happened, I don't know, but you know what I'm saying? Like, we should write a story one day about these situations because artists don't realize without us, there's no them. So,
well, I will say, especially Houston artists, I got y'all. Hit me up. Send me something. hcarter07@gmail.com. I will review it. I will also tell you if I refuse to review it, if it's trash, but that's a different story.
Oh, yeah, let me say the same for Cleveland artists, too. Shout out R the Czar. You got a new EP out. Shit is dope. I'll fuck with Cleveland. Shout out to Easy. Shout out to Bone. Thank you for that. Legacy is rich up here because of y'all. You know, Crip sets, whatever came out of it. We love y'all. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, let's get back to our podcast. Hope, I love you. And we were talking about like artists and this drug shit. You know what I'm saying? I pretty much think it's whack. Like, there's a point where you got to grab your balls and be like, you know what? This is life. You got to take it. Like, you talk about Kurt Cobain. You talk about Amy Winehouse. Did you see, like, there was a detective show on a few years ago that really traced the death of Amy Winehouse and the moments leading up to her death and, like, the drugs and alcohol she consumed and, like, what her mind state might have been like? That shit was deep. It was like some, like, CSI type shit. But I feel like at a point, because they said she had a major breakdown because she had a big performance and, like, she didn't even live up to what people were expecting. So she, like, ended up withdrawing back into her alcoholism or whatever. And
well, that's a lot of even if it's not going back but just going towards it, I think that's a lot of the problem. That's what's wrong with artists, is they never feel like they can live up to the genius that is in their minds. Like, y'all were playing, but, like, I was scared for Kanye. I was like, will we ever see him again? You know, when he went into I don't know, I guess he got treatment. I'm proud of him for that because he could end up super crazy, you know?
Hope. Oh my God. Like, for real. Like, I was worried about Kanye. Like, God forbid, like, God protect his soul. But I felt like this was like his demise. Like, that last concert, he talking about Jay-Z sending goons to get him, and the dude got picked in the psychiatric units and all this shit. Like,
it was really crazy because he was throwing all his friends under the bus, everybody. So it was really great to hear him on this Drake playlist. I mean, it was unnecessarily long, but that was one good thing that I heard on the Drake playlist is a Kanye feature, because I was like, man, it's good to hear his voice because I do believe he is as important as he thinks he is.
I feel it. Did you know that Lil Yachty doesn't take drugs, by the way?
Then that is real. Is a medical problem? Like, send that man to a neurologist. Like,
you should have seen Hope's face right now. She was so surprised when I just
knew, like, oh gosh.
I watched, shout out Viceland. I watched the special. They trailed like artists from Atlanta, and Lil Yachty's like, no, I don't drink. I don't take drugs.
So it's a neurology problem. Something's wrong with that guy.
Oh my God. Shut up, man. What are you doing? You about to have me laughing. We're not going to get
Does Uzi take drugs?
Who?
Uzi.
Probably. I guess he does. I don't know.
I don't know any of his lyrics well enough.
Me neither. I have no idea, like, what's a great song for him. Maybe because, shout out to the younger generation, too. Like, if y'all fuck with him, y'all fuck with him.
Stunting on My Ex. Is that 21 Savage? Or
I don't think so. I don't think I ever heard that song.
Oh, oops.
Okay, well, I'm a dinosaur, but I also have an ear for, like, good shit.
No, like, that's the only lyric I know from it.
Yo, no disrespect to these young artists like Uzi.
I mean, a little bit of disrespect.
For me, none. For me, none. I'll fuck with y'all. Like, evolution is evolution. You can't stop science from going into whatever mechanisms are natural.
I don't have to like it.
You don't have to like mechanisms, but it is what it is.
So, not to sound like somebody's grandma, like, oh, all this new music, but I don't appreciate what's happening with hip hop. Sorry, not sorry. Anyway, moving on. Speaking of lyrics, Speaking of lyrics, I actually thought about something when we were talking about Amy Winehouse. I feel like a lot of these artists, we're not listening to them. You know what I mean? Like we're jamming to their songs and mindlessly singing their lyrics, not realizing that these are cries for help. You know what I'm saying? Like, look, you got kiss, excuse me while I kiss the sky. Clear drug reference, you know, clearly he's getting what? Where the sky is high. You know, we weren't listening to him. But even back then, though, I think they didn't realize how much damage drugs were doing. So I could see people not getting as up in arms over the drug references. But I mean, like, depression, Janis Joplin songs are hella depressing. You know, they jam, but they're depressing. You know, another little piece of my heart, like. And then she's singing. She said she wanted to be like one of the first white.
From Texas, though, by the way.
What?
Isn't she from Texas, by the way?
Yeah, she is. She's from Port Arthur, PAT.
Oh shit!
Yeah, but no, she was majorly depressed for most of her life because her parents wanted her to sing at church, thought she was a heathen, kicked her out because she wanted to sing the blues. Then she got into singing the blues and she wasn't a black male, so that was hard for her too. You know what I'm saying? But that's who sang the blues back then. So she didn't fit the bill, so she's constantly in a state of not fitting in. It turns to something to get happy. Nobody was listening to that. Like I said, Jimi Hendrix, nobody was listening to him. But and even down to like artists who died from different means, like Eazy-E passed from AIDS.
Right. That's a conspiracy, though. I don't believe he died from AIDS.
Yeah, people don't sit. I could see it, though, because if you listen to his songs.
Yeah, that's smart. That's some college shit right there. But like, if you listen to interviews with Bone, like they was like they seen people who had HIV and AIDS, and it was like he didn't like. I'm about to post an Easy post, by the way, because he just died like a few days ago, 22 years ago, and without him, Cleveland wouldn't even be on the map for that reason. But furthermore, they were saying they seen people die from AIDS and it didn't deteriorate like that. Like they feel like it was some other shit. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, with Eazy though, and with the newness of knowledge about the disease, I could see him deteriorating quicker because I feel like it was at a progressed state, probably once they found it. But moving on, like I was saying, listening to people's lyrics, Kurt Cobain, listen to those lyrics. They're like a lot of times it was with Kurt. Why am I spacing out on his band?
You good? Take your time. Take your time, Queen.
No, his band name. I'm spacing out on.
You got it. You got it.
You don't know his band name. That's what you're saying.
Huh?
You're saying you don't know his band name.
Nirvana?
Thank you. Gosh, why is it that hard? But no. Listening to their lyrics, you know, the party, the sex, drugs, and rock and roll were all through their lyrics. Amy Winehouse, Back to Black was what the first thing we heard from her?
Hell, that was depressing as fuck.
Huh?
That was depressing as fuck.
If you listen to the words.
FUCK, like, fuck, like.
If you listen to the words they were. What I'm saying is we were jamming off of Rehab, you know?
I'd rather be at home with Greg. Whoever.
Ray. Who was, I mean, and you look up pictures of them two, and they were known for being in public after, like, this fighting.
Hell yeah.
You know?
Amy Winehouse was a legend, too. That's sad. But go ahead, spit your dissertation.
We got to
my bad.
Kalani, when Kalani had the apparent suicide attempt after all the stuff went down with Kyrie and Party Next Door, which Party Next Door, you're wrong from that.
He's a hot mess, yo.
Huh? Somebody raised him better than that. Like,
he's a hot mess, yo.
Bruh. And I'm still mad at Kyrie for not, like, defending her.
That's how Cleveland people do. We passive as fuck. I'm just being honest. Like,
is Kyrie from Cleveland?
I don't think so, but he got the spirit on him. You know what I'm saying? You from the church. You know we got the spirit on him, the Holy Ghost. Like he got the spirit on him of the whatever the Cleveland spirit is. People be passive aggressive as fuck.
Well,
aside from the GDs, but go ahead.
Well, the thing is, listening to Kalani's first album, You Should Be Here, she had a lot of like self-esteem issues, you know, and so you have all of that blow up, and the suicide attempt wasn't as shocking. Everybody's like, oh my God, I can't believe, and I'm like, I could, you know, if you listen to the words in a lot of her songs on that first album, which I overplayed that album, and I still do because it's dope. You know, and I still think that she's like the next Brandy, because as with Brandy, I think her catalog doesn't show what her voice can do. You know,
Hell yeah.
that's beside the point. But I feel like Kalani had a lot of things that she was saying that nobody listened to. For anybody to be shocked that like, oh, she would try to commit suicide, I wasn't shocked at all. So I think a lot of it goes with us not really listening to what these artists are saying, because you're only going to write about what you know.
Word up. I would say like with Kalani, like last year I was on some like fuck the mainstream music industry. But suicide's no joke. If somebody's talking about killing themselves, like there's definitely something going on. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. Like, I mean, clearly if you fucking with an NBA player and a pop star, like what the fuck do you think? You know what I'm saying? Like,
but see, that wasn't even a situation. It's just fans got involved. Party Next Door was super messy and out of line.
He's messy all the time, apparently. He even tried to throw Nicki Minaj under the bus recently.
Yeah, I saw that too. And it's like, go away, sir. Like, Drake's lapdog. Can you stop? But
this is Sprite, by the way. You concerned about me earlier. It's just Sprite.
Okay.
I was dehydrated.
Okay. But what I was saying was, apparently Kyrie and Kalani had already broken up, and Party Next Door posted that picture of when him and Kalani used to date. Like, it wasn't even a current picture, and everybody just dragged her. And I mean, she couldn't take it, clearly. Which, speaking of people who dragged her, another musician who I am so fearful for his life, Chris Brown. Chris. Man, he's really great. Like, you can't, there's no denying that his music is fantastic, and his performances and everything. And somehow through, I guess, whatever drugs or whatever he's been on, smoking weed, his range has not changed, you know, which you would think that would be damaging to his lungs or whatever. But I mean, he admits smoking weed. But I'm getting kind of scared for him. You know what I mean? It feels like he's got a bunch of yes people around him.
He does.
One person to tell him, like, you need to relax.
He does. Yo, and real quick, Hope, Marcus just chimed in again. He said, so we was talking about some shit earlier. I don't even remember because we've been having a good time. But he said, but some people are just naive and need to learn. He said, if people stop being sex addicts and stop calling Rihanna a hoe.
That was it, ...
Exactly, yeah.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't... A lot of these people, I hope they don't have to learn the hard way, you know, because there's really only one hard way to learn about drug addiction is you overdose or you kill yourself. You know? As far as the sex thing, I mean, there's a lot of ways to have to keep living with the decision you made, you know. It wasn't supposed to be funny. It's like either...
I'm sorry, that's funny though, because people don't like... You have to understand, like, sex in the 21st century is like I could fuck a goat, and like people have no conscience. Not me. I'm not. That's not me.
Hey, whatever.
No, that's fucking disgusting. Like, that's an abomination. But I'm saying, like, no, that's fuck. No, I said that the wrong way. I'm saying, like, no, come on, Hope, don't do that to me. Give me that. Give me that. No, that's. But I'm saying, like, you understand what I'm saying? Like, in the 21st century, people could do whatever they want, and like not have any ramifications for it. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, it's funny you said that. I was laughing when you said don't laugh, like it's not funny. I wasn't laughing at your comment. I was laughing at because this is a time where anything goes.
Very true. And then you have what's called slut shaming, which I understand half of, and then the rest of them, like, some things are shameful, you know? So, and it's really, kind of just a way of, I don't know, like, how do you want to be addressed, you know?
Yeah.
So, but I think it's celebrated with certain people and it's chastised in other people. So maybe that's where they get the don't shame women for, like, what you calling a dude a player for, you know?
Well, yeah, I always thought that, like, back in the 90s, like, remember that movie How to Be a Player came out with Bill Bellamy?
Nope, I'm not as old as you.
Oh, yeah, you right behind me, though. You right behind me. Bill Bellamy, How to Be a Player came out. I wasn't allowed to see it, whatever. But it was like celebrating like dudes running through a bunch of chicks or whatever. I didn't even see the movie. I haven't seen it yet. Yo, I have not seen How to Be a Player, so don't fucking judge me for all the old heads out here. But at the same time, it's like, why aren't dudes called hoes if they fucking chicks, as many chicks? You know what I'm saying? I always thought that. Being an intelligent person, you naturally have to ask that question. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, Luda said it too, you know. Said hoes don't be so sad and blue because most of us niggas is hoes too.
But the thing is, like, when we in the bathroom, when I'm washing my hands in the men's room, if you call it a hoe, that's a compliment. It's like one of the dudes at my job was like, yo, I could see you a predator just like me, and I'm not a fucking predator. I was like, why the fuck are you calling me a predator? Like, but that's a compliment. Like, if a woman was called a predator, she'd be like, yo, like, what does that mean? What are you talking about? But as a dude, that's supposed to be a compliment.
Yeah. That's gross.
It is gross. Like, I don't run through chicks like that. I don't.
Well, I know. And but it's the same way with, like I was saying, the drug culture. It's like, oh man, I was so high such and such day or whatever, and that's supposed to be like, ha, that's so funny. Or like, oh, I didn't know where I was when I woke up. Haha, that's so funny. And it's really like, no, that's really scary. Like, that's something that you need to seek help for. You know what I'm saying?
Yo,
like,
you're hilarious.
You can't celebrate these destructive behaviors.
You can't. Like, this shit has to come to a head. It's like whatever people. But we should maybe do a podcast on sexuality in the music industry. We talking about motherfuckers who got fucked up for doing some shit. So let's stay on that shit. Like, I think we can't even talk about this topic without conspiracies coming into play, because anytime you talk about Kurt Cobain, Jimi Hendrix, I haven't heard anything about Amy Winehouse. I don't know if you have, but it's all about like the government has something to do with it, or Courtney Cox has something to do with Kurt Cobain getting killed. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know how you would sum this up as like, it's just they have bad decision-making skills and not the government.
I mean, as far as Amy Winehouse goes, I highly doubt that was a conspiracy, just because like the UK was super happy that they had a crossover artist, like they usually are, you know, and she told you from the jump, like, I am on heroin, you know?
You did.
So it's like, okay, you're on heroin. Like, not I smoke weed, like I'm on heroin. Like, I have a problem. That's something that's, you don't hear artists come out with like, I'm on the hard drugs. That's why it was so shocking to us to hear Whitney be like, oh, I'm not on crack because crack is cheap. You're like, why are you?
Did she say crack is whack?
Well, she said crack is cheap first.
Okay.
She was just like, I would never do crack. Crack is cheap, like cocaine. And it's like, wow, like, I mean, she just made cocaine a symbol of status, you know, which is crazy. So it's like with artists like her, I don't think with like Whitney and Amy, I don't think you can chalk it up to a government conspiracy or anybody else conspiracy. Artists like, I could see it maybe if you're saying something like a Jimi Hendrix. But like I said, I have a different theory about that.
What is your theory? No, share your theory. What is that?
I told you, I think his girlfriend killed him.
Oh yeah, you did say that early on.
I could see it with maybe a Janis Joplin, with her attending Woodstock and all the flag burning and stuff that was going on there. And like you said, like the leaders of the hippie movement, you know, I could see that happening. Easy, I could see that being not a government thing, but who they said should killed him, or who?
Like Death Row Records has something to do with it.
Yeah, I could see maybe that happened. I mean, anything is possible with as we saw with those relationships, you know, because those were killers, you know. But I don't. A lot of these things I would just chalk up to like drugs. It just drugs.
And I think we kind of touched on this, but I want to really have you dig deep and elaborate. And you could pick my brain as well. You're like, fuck this. I'm not digging this dude's brain. He's fucking fried or whatever you may think. But my point is, like, do you think it all ties into the sensitivity of being an artist? Like, both you and I are in the industry. I've been in the industry, like I said in previous podcasts, for just a year. And, like, I'm already lightweight offended. Yo, by the way, I'm not even naming a particular artist, but last night, you know how you have the, like, live sessions on Instagram?
Mm-hmm.
I went into an artist that I'm really feeling. I think she has the talent to be, she's dope as fuck. Like, she embodies everything New York felt they lost in the past 15 years. And, like, I went into her podcast. I was like, yo, new music? She had, first of all, I chime into the live podcast, and there's this dude who looks like fucking Craig Mack. It's not even her. It's this dude who looks like Craig Mack. He's like, yo. I was like, yo, let me exit out this live chat. He was like, yo, new music? I said, new music, question mark. He sends it over to the young lady. She says some shit. He dicks right off her like, yo, F you, nigga. And I hate the N-word, by the way, but I'm going to say it because this is what they said. He was like, fuck you, nigga. Like, we got shit on live mixtapes, Dat Piff. Go check it out, blah, blah, blah. What you mean fucking music, nigga? We got new music, blah, 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 blah. And they going on and off. And I'm like, yo, do you have, like, I was just simply asking her from a music journalist perspective, do you have, like, a project out? Usually when I go into a live session and I ask artists if they have new music, they're like, yo, I got an EP dropping in May or June. But they was on some straight ignorant shit, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And like I said all of this to pretty much just say, like, you know, the whole like sensitivity of an artist, like some people aren't taking it seriously, you know what I'm saying? And like some people are like extra over the top, but I exited out of that. But
well, I mean, a level of maturity comes with all of it.
Hell
but
yeah.
You know, when someone rejects or criticizes your art, it's like they're criticizing your personality or rejecting you because it came out of specifically your brain.
And no one was criticizing anything. We were all just like...
Right, but at the same time, you don't know what's going on with them. Like, they might have just been criticized for, oh, like, you're lazy, you don't ever put anything out. You know what I mean? So a level of maturity with realizing that you were just somebody random who just came up and happened to ask about music rather than the same person who criticized them or called them lazy or whatever. That's a maturity thing. Like,
I feel you. You were young Socrates. Like, I feel you. That's a mature comment. I feel you.
Well, and I mean, I see that with Keke Palmer when she was on Wendy Williams. You know, Wendy was like, oh, you this, because Keke went off on Trey Songz about using her likeness in a video. She was like, I didn't know that you were going to use that in the video. Like, run me my check, you know, all of that. And, you know, Wendy was like, well, didn't you know that you could possibly be used and blah, 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 blah. And Keke was kind of like, dude, Wendy, you weren't there. Like, you know, and she's like, I get it. Like, this is your job to get the scoop and get the gossip, but you weren't there. So you don't know. And it wasn't Wendy, don't get in my face. You know, she could have jumped stupid, had an attitude, but she's mature.
Right.
So there's a level of maturity with comes that, which I think is also a level of maturity that comes with, hey, I love creating and I love music and all of that, and that is what makes me happy. So I don't need to self-medicate to continue to do that. And that actually might take away my skills.
I feel it.
I mean, you look at Sly Stone now. Sly Stone now is jacked. I just saw, what did I see? Unsung with him. Mind you, Sly, though, has outlived a lot of the family Stone. He has outlived a lot of them who passed because of drug abuse or complications after drug abuse. But he has some himself. But Sly, you can tell, like, he can't do what he used to do anymore.
Right.
And it's because of his choices.
I feel it. Yo, Hope, thank you for dropping that shit. I mean, thank you for, you always bring the intelligent part to the, you know, we both bring intelligent parts, but Thank you for that deep shit. But my point is this too. In summary, I feel like artists are kind of weak. I like me being a musician too, and soul and spirit, how God whatever predestined me to be. I feel like in a way, like I get extra sensitive about stuff I shouldn't, and I feel like that's outside of the government shit. I have to laugh because some of this stuff is over the top. It's crazy, but at the time, I feel like they're being extra sensitive, like taking extra drugs and shit. Like I heard, like I don't know if you were reading any of the TMZ. Like you said, TMZ is usually on top of stories when shit happens, and they were talking about like Prince, like they got a quote unquote in touch with his dealer at the time he got killed, and they were like, "Oh, the dealer was like, oh, Prince." He had stage fright issues. He used to take drugs because he couldn't stand being in front of 10,000 people and X, Y, and Z. And it's like, okay, well, that kind of makes sense though.
It does.
Right. So to me, it's like, is the government or Sony, Universal didn't have an issue. They didn't really play a role in that when he said pretty much fuck. What did he say? Universal or Sony was fighting with?
Yeah, whoever. Yeah.
He was like, fuck them. It wasn't more so that. It was more so his sensitivity as an artist. And that's what causes the demise of these people. Like, you got to step outside of your own mind, like Hope said earlier, and just face reality. Be more, and this is for all indie artists, step outside of your mind for a minute and just be objective and be more calculating instead of like in your feelings all the time.
Yeah. And get some people around you who will tell you the truth. Because
exactly.
It's shocking to me that nobody was like, Michael, you out of there. Like, why are you taking this many drugs? Like, like this is not healthy. This can't be healthy. I don't care how much money you have. You got to get back surgery or something like that. With Prince, he had 2 broken hips, but he was Jehovah's Witness and he couldn't get them replaced, needed 2 hip replacements. So, I mean, at some point you got to be like, you just can't take these drugs. You can't do that. Like Chris Brown, like, dude, you got a whole restraining order out against you. Something is wrong.
And it's just like a matter of time before the next artist pops up dead for doing drugs. Like, I want to flip a Nas verse real quick. He was like, how many niggas gonna die this summer? I spit life in my music, but still life is a wonder. It's like, how many artists gonna die this summer?
Right, which is sad and scary. But I'm hoping that the ones that we know and love come to their senses if they're on drugs or stay on a good path if they're not.
Hell yeah. I mean, I definitely feel how they feel, though. Like, every day I'm in an artist's shoes. I'm in a fucking 9 to 5, and, like, I feel like an artist, like, every fucking thing just, like, touches, like, the inner parts of you and burns. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that's what attributes to it. It's not like the government. Like, I feel like Tupac's a special case, but, like, for Kurt Cobain and, like, Prince, for example, Michael Jackson, I feel like it was more so just them not getting outside of their mind. You know what I'm saying? Like I said before.
Right.
Definitely. Yo, I got the queen at Hope Carter with me at mainstream_music is garbage. I think that's right. It was long as hell. I don't know why I did such a long Instagram name. But yo, Hope, what do you have to say about this topic in general? Because I mean, I feel like it's kind of like needs not to be said. It's kind of like, yeah, they were junkies. They were just extra sensitive people. Like, in the end, people look to these artists as being strong figures, but succumbing to drug influence is like showing how weak they were actually.
I think everybody has their weaknesses, and we can't chastise them for being like, you are so weak for falling to this, because everybody has their vice too. Some people overeat, oversleep.
Overeat.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Like, some people deal with their
fat joke.
Huh?
Is that a fat joke?
No, it's not. Like, some people deal with their issues in different ways, and if you have enough money, like I said before, like Whitney or Michael or Prince, you have enough money and you know the right people, you're gonna fall more easily. So I would say it really just boils down to, like I said, listen to what people are saying.
I feel it. Yo, and lastly, here too. I mean, probably not lastly, because we tend to talk. I love being in the presence of Hope. Like she's real.
But this should probably be lastly. It's been about an hour.
Yeah, you look tired though. You've been hustling and grinding.
Well, that's not a compliment. You look tired. That's not a compliment.
That is a compliment, because if you look tired, that means you've been doing what you're supposed to do.
But you look whooped. That's what that means.
No.
So you were
No,
saying
it doesn't. No, she looks beautiful, y'all. If y'all saw her. But my point is furthermore, why the funniest thing to me tonight was Little Yachty.
I mean, that was shocking to me.
Because you should have seen your face when I first told you that.
So I'll wrap it up since he's not going to.
No, we're not going to wrap this up. Like,
yeah, thank you so much for joining us.
Wait. He adamantly said, I don't drink.
Thank you for joining us again. Thank you for joining Louder Than Music podcast. We will see you next Thursday. Another hot topic and our hot takes on those hot topics. I'm Hope Carter.
I'm Billy Smalls, Billy the Kid. We're going to wrap up. I think we pretty much covered everything. And summary is just like, I mean, it's unfortunate. Like the 27 Club, I mean, being that you're a spiritual person too, like I didn't really want to touch on this, but I feel like it's way more spiritual. Like a lot of these artists, like I don't know if you listen to Flatbush Zombies.
Mm-mm.
They're like an underground hip hop group, not underground, whatever. But they were like gloating, like one of the artists in the group said he wanted to be in the 27 Club. Like there were a lot of artists, like even Amy Winehouse, who said she wanted to be in the 27 Club.
Well, yeah, like we said before, there's a lot of respect that comes with being these creative geniuses, but you have to be mature enough to handle it. So
people have like a more deeper meaning to that. Like to me, it's like taking drugs. Like Michael Jackson and the mirror theory. I don't know if you heard about the mirror theory.
No.
Like I'm sorry, Hope. I know you was trying to wrap up the podcast. I'm sorry. But just in the last 5 minutes, like he was talking about like the mirror theory. Like he would look in the mirrors. Okay, I got you. I got you, fam. I got you. But he was like pretty much talking about like with the mirrors, like he would look and try to connect to a spiritual world or whatever. Like a lot of these people take drugs not because they're sensitive, but because they're also trying to reach a level of creativity that they wouldn't otherwise achieve if they were sober. You feel me?
We said that.
No, I know that, but it's just like it's just so deep. Like some people intentionally want to die some people really want to die at 27.
Yeah. And that's crazy. Like I said, that's a maturity thing. You have to know that is selfish and it's going to take you away from what you love to do most.
All right, y'all. Y'all, please comment on the post. Let us know, like, if I fucked up, if Hope said something that made y'all want to jump up. If she fucked up, if I fucked up, let us know. We don't give a fuck. We just rebels. We just saying what we want to fucking say. But anyway, I'm Billy Smalls, Billy the Kid. Again, go ahead, Hope. Drop your name, please, again.
Hope Carter.
All right. We done. We out of here. I am the industry. We don't give no fucks. We done.